Hi everyone. Thank you again, for calling me here to lead this session on drone logistics and its impact in India. Prasun Bansal here. Thanks, Karan, for the great intro. Ankit, do you want to introduce yourself more and the company a bit more, and then we can get into the drone logistics part of it also?
Yeah, sure. Works for me. Thanks, Karan. Thanks, Prasun. Hi, everyone. My name is Ankit Kumar. I am one of the co-founders and CEO at Skye Air. Skye Air is primarily a SaaS-based autonomous logistics solution provider. We have been using drones to provide logistical solutions to multiple companies that we work with today, may it be in a far-reach area, may it be in a hard-reach area, to cities like Gurgaon, Kolkata, Bangalore, and multiple other parts. One firm belief that we carry as a founders is, and that is where we jumped into this entire sector is the sector has got it's a lot more slower, very expensive. There's a lot of inefficiencies into the whole system that exists today, and the only thing which can change this is going the vertical way of transportation. So moving vertically will help to resolve, decongest a lot of things, and to make things move much faster. So that's where we started Skyer with the core aim, and we are building up the whole of ecosystem in a way which is all contributing and directly going and impacting the whole piece of delivery that we have got. So we are building everything around delivery, may it be the UTM, may it be the subsystems that we are working on to ensure and create a whole ecosystem which is evolving, and which is going to transform and disrupt the whole Indian logistics ecosystem. So that's where we are.
Okay. So thanks, Ankit, for that. So for all of you, let me lay down a background about drone logistics. Not just in India but worldwide. Drone logistics, and drone flying is one of the most contentious issues that governments across the world are facing as far as uh, you know controlling anything is concerned. Airspace around the country is a very valuable thing as far for security and sanity purposes for a lot of people. With airplanes flying around, and helicopters zipping around us all the time, drones, which start as in back in 2010 when not a lot of drones were flying, it was all fine. You could fly a drone in a backyard and be done with it. Not a lot of drones were available, but since 2010, until 2020, the amount of drones in the skies increased tremendously. A lot of people wanted to do drone logistics as Ankit Kumar is doing. A lot of people are doing drones for just recreational flying. You have now drones available for kids to fly. Autonomous drones which are so small to behemoths which are 1,000 kgs in size. All of it was becoming a big problem as far as national security is concerned. And actually, until 2019, flying a drone in India was almost illegal to do. So, earlier, nothing would happen because the number of drones flying was very low. But around 2016, 2017, the regulations became so onerous that even flying a 50-gram drone outside your home was illegal, technically speaking, as far as the government is concerned. So, if you had Ankit or someone flying a drone at that point of time, you'll have a cop knocking at your door. Hey, why are you flying a drone? This is an illegal area. You're putting the national security at risk. Uh, Even recently, there are many reports of drones being caught around national security areas, around airports, and being shot down by folks. Regardless of the fact that you're talking about uh, areas of defense and other things. The drone space completely opened up in India in 2019, and I like Ankit to speak a bit more about how, if you can speak a little bit more about what the drones, the space around legality of drone flying looks like in India right now.
Sure, Prashant. So I think, I mean, as you rightly said, it has evolved over a period of time. So I remember when I started working in the drone sector as a consultant in 2016. This was more as a part of the Ministry of Defense. So not even 100% FDI was allowed in the drone sector. Uh, Very much regulated, highly regulated space. Lot of challenges, lot of red tapes that were there, and which was prohibiting for more and more expansion to happen. And then towards 2017, 2018, again, I think drones were more like B2G and G2G applications were taking off.
True.
It was more of survey inspection, working out for state governments or units of state governments which are dealing with multiple other activities have to be taken up. It was 2019 November when the government came out with the first policy that allowed the VLOS to happen and put this entire thing under the Ministry of Civil Aviation, and how things started evolving from that day onwards. So VLOS started a lot of things to move more towards B2B and B2C and other applications that were taking off. More aerial filming exercises started happening. A lot of hue and cry went across around the NPNT base, which was created in the first policy. No permission, no takeoff. Module has to be created all around. The domestic ecosystem of manufacturers needs to be promoted, and a lot of things to come around with that. And I think though we brought in a policy to enable the whole of Sky, but there was a limitation with respect to NPNT that became a big hindrance for a lot of things to translate. And then a sequence of activities started happening. So I was working very closely with the Ministry of Civil Aviation during that time, and we proposed to the secretary then for Civil Aviation Ministry that let's go and do this 100 hours of BB loss trials, and let this be the inception point for BB loss activities to at least begin on a trial and a POC stage, and then eventually transform into a evidence-based policy that can actually come out. He liked the idea and he said that, okay, but
So,
why just you guys?
interjecting, this is Amber Dubey at Civil Aviation Ministry, right?
He was there. He
Okay.
joined. I think he joined a little later, I would say.
Okay.
This is when the other secretary was there, the secretary for civil aviation, and he liked the idea, and his entire thing revolved around that. Why only you guys have to do this? Let's roll out an expression of interest and let it go, and let's see how many people participate. And to our surprise, in between you had the general elections, so code of conduct, etc., came in, and when they roll out this entire EOI, which is in the month of May or June 2019, uh, we found that there are 40 odd companies which are participating. So there's a lot of interest for companies to participate, do BB laws, and which was very much visible to Ministry of Civil Aviation, to DDCA, to Airport Authority of India, and every agency that was involved in it. They saw that this is good. This is the inception point, and that's where the journey started. A lot of, again, permission mechanisms. Everything was happening for the first time in the country. Nobody knew there's no direct route to do something, so you had a lot of layers of permissions that was required to be done. I stitched a consortium with Dunzo at that point of time, where Dunzo, Skye Air, and a few other companies came together and we stitched a consortium. And that happened in December of 2019. That happened to be the first consortium to get an approval for starting up doing 100 hours BV loss trials. However, there were on-ground challenges with reference to taking up police clearance, taking up MHA clearance later came into place, taking up lot many clearance that was required to be done, right?
One thing I'd like to add for the group to understand this thing. So the time what Ankit is talking about, at that point of time, even assembling a drone was illegal in India per
Yes.
se. Importing anything from outside, if you had a motor or a propeller or even a drone part, you'd be caught at the customs. Nothing was available on Amazon, and anything above 50 grams was effectively illegal in India. So this was the wild west in India at that point of time. Go ahead, Ankit.
True, and that was stopping, or that was sort of slowing the whole process of getting this entire trial done. And our entire idea was that when we get this 100 hours things done, and when we have data to support it, that is a time when we can push the government to go in the direction to create a policy which can allow drone deliveries and which can allow a lot of other things to happen in the country, right? So we started with that. I think that entire 2020 went into doing this kind of an exercise, and 2021 was a time frame when there was a policy which came out in the March of 2021, which was a complete 180-degree to our expectations. A policy that was taking the whole of ecosystem much backwards to where it was. A lot of things was devised on that particular ground. And this was a time when things were more taken into control by the Ministry of Civil Aviation. And within a span, and I'm not seeing at least in any other industry, but within a span of 5-6 months, they rolled out a new policy, which is Drone Rules 21, which is a complete changeover to the regulation or to the law that was created in the month of March 21. And that made everyone believe in the industry that this is how things are going to transpire and evolve and change. And that added and that started making things happen. So I think end of August 21 was the time frame when the new regulation came into effect. And 11th of September 21 is when we took the first legal BVLOS flight that took place, where the Minister of Civil Aviation came on board in Vikarabad, and he put in the whole vaccine and the other vials, which was carried and ferried for around 3.5 kilometer by our drones. So we were the first company to do that. And that day onwards, we started our journey. We did around 2.5 weeks of trials with different other companies within Vikarabad, took it to conducting and finishing the 100 hours BVLOS that we were committed to do, put in and submitted the evidences to regulatory agencies to have a look at. And that is a time frame when the national UTM policy framework also came in the November 21. And this was all enabled by the proactiveness which was there from the Ministry of Civil Aviation, again led by Amba Dubey. And and everything was happening at scale, and everything was happening in a much speedier manner. So that is a time frame when things started evolving, drone delivery started happening. We spent, I think, the later part of 21 and the half of 2022 doing trials and POCs, making companies more understanding about the whole of ecosystem, how it is working out, how it is going to transform, at what point of time it is going to start making sense on the cost commercials, uh, when it is going to reduce on the costings, how it is going to get in sync with the current logistics ecosystem that they have developed within themselves, and what all things are going to be there. Is it going to replace the mid mile? It is going to replace the last mile? Is it going to replace the first mile? What is going to happen?
So it's fair to say that you have been there since the industry sort of incepted itself.
Absolutely.
Beyond 20, before 21, the industry itself didn't exist as a vertical because of the regulations around it. For other folks on the call, uh, 2 3 terms that you might not be aware of. The first thing is BVLOS, which is beyond visual line of sight. So as far as flying drones is concerned, typically a pilot flies a drone, and the pilot has visual line of sight as to where the drone is going and if it's coming back or not. Most regulations allow you to fly drones as long as you're seeing it below 400 feet threshold of height. Currently in India, you cannot fly a drone above 400 feet. That's illegal. As in, all the airspace above 400 feet is not allowed to be flown. And for the longest time, and not just India but around the world, any flight of a drone which is beyond where the pilot can see are highly, highly, highly restricted. Mostly relegated to the defense departments. And it's amazing to see Ankit and Skye Air doing something around in the beyond visual line of sight flights. Uh, Lastly, as far as the drone space in India is concerned, I think before 21, uh, it was you need to take a permission to get a drone flying for each of the flights that you had. This was either from the DGCA, the Ministry of Civil Aviation, or the local police station, which was very red tapey. Since 21, the guidelines have become you have a whole lot of area earmarked as green zones. So area around airports, area around defense establishments, security establishments, all of that is red. Then you have a yellow zone in a band around them. And then most of India right now, about 99% of India right now has become green zone, wherein you're allowed to do a drone flight up to 400 feet height from the ground. Uh, Ankit, do you want to talk a little bit more about what the drone logistics sector in India looks like?
Sure. So it's evolving, right? With the interactive maps coming into place, and with the segmentation of zones which has happened in the sector, a lot of flights started happening initially in the green zones. Which is like 86% of the country today is a green zone.
Yeah.
11% is yellow zone, and the remaining is red zone. It's not that you cannot fly in yellow zone, you cannot fly in red zones. You can fly. We do flights in red zones and yellow zones also. However, you have to take additional approvals on top and top, and to brief on what is the objectivity for which you are flying the entire drone for. So today,
The
how
audience, let me tell you one thing to people. Red zones are active, runways and active airports. You cannot have drones flying around your airports, and colliding with, aircraft going around. So you have to take permissions from everyone around to get those done. And it's not an easy process to do that. If anyone has been involved with aerospace, they'll let you know. Uh, Flight timings, flight distances are very crucial and very sacrosanct for people. Go ahead, Uncle.
let me explain. 5 kilometer vicinity of an airport is called as a red zone. So 5 kilometer vicinity, we're not even talking about the airstrip, we're talking about the whole of airport. uh, you know Beyond 5 to 12 kilometer vicinity is divided again in yellow 1 and yellow 2. So let's call it yellow, for the matter of putting out here. Yellow is somewhere where you can fly, but you need to take up ADC approvals. So whichever is the nearest ATC, you need to get a clearance done from there, and you need to develop a SOP on how you need to coordinate with the ATC on all those lines. And then you have the green zones, which are beyond 12 kilometer to any limit, wherever you want to go and fly and do things. There's another layer which comes in, which is called as temporary red zone or geo zone for that matter, which is 3 kilometer vicinity of a defense installations. May it be a Indian Air Force base, may it be the Navy base, may it be anything and everything related to the defense. 3 kilometer vicinity is called as a temporary red zone and geo zones. Again, you can fly, but you need to take an approval from that appellate authority. So that's how the whole of segmentation has
Yeah.
happened into the entire airspace.
So as
Now,
far as drone logistics are concerned, can you talk a little bit more about this space in terms of where you see the market going on in, what you see the kind of cost coming in after all of this has been, if given everything else is fine to fly.
right. See, I think the major hindrance from day one for the drone logistics industry to take off was on two lines, right? One was regulatory, and the second was acceptance by the industry, right? So regulatory got over in 21. Acceptance started happening in 21 and 22, uh, towards where people were very enthusiastic to do trials and POCs and see how actually it is going to impact their use cases, what they need to deliver, what they do not need to utilize the drones for, where it will come in and bring in cost efficiencies, etc. Today, where we are sitting, it has already become commercial. You know, companies have realized, state governments have realized that this is a regular activity that needs to be done. Places where we currently operate, for example, Himachal Pradesh, we are very active in three districts of Himachal Pradesh where we have connected it to multiple nodes, created a hub and spoke model, which is very prevalent in the drone logistic ecosystem around the world, where we are doing a hub and spoke model, connecting a DH, a district hospital, to multiple primary healthcare centers, carrying, from one side, carrying the vaccines and medicines for state, from the other side, carrying the diagnostic sample back to the DH for testing and other things. So it's evolving, it's changing at a very rapid pace. We moved from three nodes to currently around 25, 26 odd nodes in the state of Himachal Pradesh. We are added Uttarakhand. We're doing the similar amount of activity in Nagaland. We're doing the similar amount of activity in multiple other parts. So that's one side of things. There's a second side of things where things are evolving in cities like Gurgaon, like Noida, Greater Noida, Bangalore, and multiple other places. Of course, the from the regulatory side, you have to coordinate with a lot of ATCs and other agencies in terms of enabling a regular and a everyday flight. However, that's evolving and that's taking shape in that particular way. The industry is rising up. Today, if you talk about My market size stands to be $3.2 billion. That's huge, coming from e-commerce, e-grocery, diagnostic, medicine supply, and multiple other things. And where we are positioned today, we are leading this entire space, and we are well positioned to address that $660 million market, which stands to be our serviceable, obtainable market, to cater for and to start creating larger economics to go in for. Now, to the second part of the question that you had, Prasun, around when it is going to make cost economic sense, it is making cost economic sense from day one. You know, we are reducing cost at multiple levels. If you talk about direct cost impact compared to conventional means, we are enabling a cost impact of anything between 20% to 40% over a conventional means. We are cheaper, 20% to 40% cheaper than the conventional means today. Not just that, if you look at the add-ons that we provide, and the add-ons are on multiple levels again, So say for example, diagnostics, or so in diagnostics today, when you look at, as a country of 1.45 billion people, we waste around 25% of the blood samples and blood components which are transported. And it's all because we don't have adequate amount of cold storages, and inadequate levels of movements of these samples without maintaining the temperature between 2 to 8 as it requires. We do those transport, and it takes time, and thus the efficiency or the efficacy of the whole blood sample goes for a waste. The same percentage applies for vaccines. Imagine, as a country, we are wasting 25% of the vaccines which are produced in this country, surely because inadequate levels of cold chain and non-maintenance of the temperature which happens today. We are there to impact that and reduce that to a greater extent. With drones, we believe we can reduce that to 8%. uh, that 8% level we can achieve, and we can further go ahead. When you look at other sectors where we impact, for example, agri commodity, that's one of the sectors that we have really taken up in the last 6 months, when we started doing the first fresh produce, or fresh fruits and vegetable shipments in Kinnaur, where we carried apples of 25 kilos, etc., and moved from the farmland to the folk, where the sorting and the grading and other things started happening in. you know we impacted that waste to come down. Today, on an average, on a national scale, we are wasting 46% of the fresh produce. That's immense, given the size of the country and given how much agri contribution goes to the GDP of the country, right?
Okay.
uh, 46% wastage can be brought down to a drastic level. you know we are impacting to the farmers. The farmers used to take like 6 hours to transport their apples from the farmland to the sorting and grading station. We are able to do that in 6 minutes. So the time frame has reduced. My aerial distance is not much. The road distance in the hills are very high. A lot of things impacting at that particular level, and we are doing that at the cost where they were bearing the similar, where they were bearing x amount of cost on the conventional logistics, while carrying on their back and then coming down to the road where the trucks and other things were available for.
Got it.
So
Okay. Now, so great answer about the idea of drone logistics and how it impacts the world. I know, but with so many companies coming on fray and so many drones flying in, obviously there's a big question about how do you manage drone traffic. How do you have so many drones flying with each other? You can't have them banging into each other and crashing on the ground or banging into buildings. There have to be guidelines to get all of that done. And essentially, with yellow zones around the airports earmarked, almost all of the cities in India become yellow zones, uh, just because of the size, the way the sizing of the yellow zones work. Uh, can you talk a little bit more about how uh, you know unaided or unmanned traffic management is coming into play in all of this, and how is Sky doing that?
sure. So see, I mean, as you rightly said, in cities, most of the parts are yellow zone, so you cannot fly without ADC approvals. And when you go and take ADC approvals, you have to do ADC coordination as well, right? On to understanding on when you can fly and when you cannot fly, and when the helicopter movements are happen. And helicopter movements do generally happen at a very low altitude. So it may happen that your drones and helicopters are flying at the same altitude, if need be. And we have seen that happening in Bangalore. We have seen that happening in Gurgaon. Uh, we have seen that in multiple other parts where we currently operate. And that's the key challenge, right? When I'm scaling my own business on going on around with the drone delivery stuff, we need to have three things in place: an automated tool to ensure that the coordination is happening in an automated manner without the involvement of more and more human beings into the loop. Because if I do that, I'm literally essentially catering and creating a whole of ADC, which will kill the whole unit economics that I have got today. That's one. The second part is that we have to look into eventually having a vehicle to vehicle communication, as you have things on ground to you know automate the whole of autonomous vehicle and how autonomous vehicle will work. You have to have vehicle to vehicle communication protocols in place, which can actually adjust and which can actually go in. And third thing, I believe, and what we are working in, is drone corridors. So we only fly in areas where we have drone corridors. Now these are the three things that we work in, right? Getting to the first part, which is the whole piece of coordination and giving the information and ensuring that the airspace is decongested at all times. That is where the traffic management system comes in. So it's an unmanned traffic management system. We call it Skye UTM. UTM is for unmanned traffic management system, which regulates and which ensures that the sky is all safer, and you get a full visibility of who's flying what, and at what particular point of time things are getting flown in that particular airspace. So, for example, you want to fly a drone. Yeah, today you have got two options. Since the UTMs are not made compulsory, you can go and fly a drone, and you can fly a drone in a compliant manner. You can fly a drone in a non-compliant manner. Uh, Honestly, there's no mechanism to check and test it today. And to be assured that who is flying in a compliant manner, who is flying in a non-compliant manner. It's completely dependent on the pilot who is flying a drone. If police call catches you, they will certainly look for permissions. You can figure out ways to navigate through that, and or else land up in big troubles that might come in. If not, you escape once, you escape twice. But once in a whole time frame, you will certainly get caught for it. So it's always better to be more compliant, and to share your information and to take approvals and then fly in that particular territory.
So your
Sky,
UTM system is compliant as far as like police stations and local area is concerned, right?
absolutely. So the Sky UTM gives you a lot of information, right? It has got layers and layers of maps. We even went to the levels where we have got layers of maps, giving you the height of the building, giving you the slender obstacles which are there on the way, giving you each and every detail on how you need to plan your mission. So you need to move from, let's say, A point to B point, which is like 10-kilometer distance. It can give you a bunch of details for you to ensure that you're flying in a safer manner. And then you have to put up a flight plan. The flight plan, we send it to the relevant authorities. It goes in the back end to the relevant authorities. And if your flight plan is not crossing by any of the critical installations or any of the defense installations, they give you an approval, or else if they want, they can reject it. Once they reject it, you can reapply for it. You can try and test and do those kind of things again. Eventually what will happen is you have a digital sky framework which is in place, right? The digital sky is going to be up and running soon, with full functionalities in place. Once that is up and running, the UTM will integrate with digital sky and essentially become a interface for pilots, for fleet operators, for users like us to access the digital sky and apply for permissions and get those permissions, which are currently being done manually. That reduces your time frame. From today it takes you around 15-20 days to take up approvals, because you have to, flying in yellow zone I'm talking about, because you have to go and talk to Airport Authority of India, you have to talk to ATCs, you have to create a SOP and mechanisms, and based on that you can go and fly. That entire process through the Sky UTM platform shortens to around 1 to 2 days. So within 24 hours to 48 hours, we are able to bring up permissions. we are able to bring up a better clarity onto the systems from the front, that this is the safer way for flying in, and this is how you can be more compliant to fly for.
And
That is
this
what we are utilizing actively for us as well,
and this is
and
not one flight. This is for the whole host of flights from point A to point B, right? As in, this is not
absolutely,
for one
absolutely.
flight every time. No, it's not
Right.
like every time I fly, I need a 1 day permission. It's like permission needed for the flight path that you have chosen.
We can have a permission for a flight path for a definite time frame. Could be 3 months, could be 6 months. That's a blanket permission you can get. And then upon every flight, when you're conducting, you do have to go and take
Yeah.
up ATC clearance, just like normal flights do when they take off from the airport. Go
So
to the runway, you have to take a ATC
yeah,
clearance to do a pushback. Similarly, the that's what Sky UTM does, makes people more compliant, helps us to navigate and understand that who's flying in the airspace, so that we navigate and we align our time frame in such a manner that we are not colliding or we are not getting into that particular thing. The second piece that I was talking about is around the vehicle to vehicle communication. That's something that we're establishing on our vehicles, at least. So on our drones, we are establishing a vehicle to vehicle communication onto maintaining that threshold, onto maintaining that gap between the entire flight, and to maintaining that vertical and horizontal deconfliction. So we have a deconfliction engine which ensures we deconflict with our own vehicles, and we deconflict with any manned aviation which is flying in the airspace. So that tactical and strategic deconfliction comes into place, which helps us to navigate in a much better manner. The third piece is the Sky Tunnel, which is the drone corridors, which I was talking about essentially. Sky Tunnel is a 10-meter wide air corridor that we create between point A and point B whenever we fly. It's 3D mapped. We know the height of the tallest building. We know where the blind spots are there from the connectivity point of view. We develop the whole of infrastructure in such a manner that it becomes much easier for us to operate at 200 feet and 400 feet both. So I can have in one corridor, I can have around 10 drones flying at the same time,
that's great.
with deconflictions coming into place, right? So we created 10-meter wide corridor so that 3 meter can be utilized for one way and reverse traffic, and 2 meter on both sides are safety net that has been created. Any drone that moves out of this zone is basically triggers an RTL and it comes back.
Comes back to base or comes
The
back to
base
the
location
okay.
or the destination, whichever is nearest.
Looking at your presentation and pitch deck earlier, I saw two distinct business verticals that you were projecting. One is the UTM based services, and one is drone logistics.
Right.
For the UTM based services, I think we have spoken a bit more, quite a lot about UTM here. Uh, for sure, as in, if you can just talk for the next 2 minutes about uh, the financials and the economics of UTM, into how you're making revenue with UTM services that you're providing various states and other drone companies, and then we can go on to the drone logistics part of it for the rest of the time.
Sure, sounds good. So with UTM, it's a very simple subscription model that we have got in place. We have got a basic, advanced, premium, and premium plus subscription models. Each come with defined levels of features and access that you have got. When we talk about you getting an approval in yellow and red zones, that is not a basic plan. That is a premium plus plan that you have to go to, right? So we collaborate with OEMs on to giving them multi-year license as well, on what they can utilize this for. We have got like 150 odd pilots in Uttarakhand who has come on board. We're working with states like Uttarakhand, states like Himachal Pradesh, Nagaland, and few other states which are in the pipeline to get added onto it. You have to understand that what states are looking at. States are looking at from a security perspective. If I see a drone somewhere flying near my balcony, I'll call up a police station and I'll complain about that this drone. I don't know the intent of this drone. And the similar is the scenario with the states. The authorities and the government have no idea about how many drones are flying, what is the security threat level, why these drones are flying without approvals, etc., etc. So where Uttarakhand came in and took the step is they made it mandatory for everybody to utilize a UTM platform, where you can go and apply for a permission. You can take up approvals from the ATCs and other people, other associate authorities, and they are having a visibility about which drones are flying where, so as to detect and so as to take up actions on anything which is rogue, anything which is non-compliant. And the police and the other authorities will only focus on those aspects. So we are working with Uttarakhand government, where we are giving them 100 user license, which are giving at an X cost. Likewise with different states also, it's a similar subscription model where we are going ahead with, and that's how we are scaling up, and then that's how we are cracking the whole of these states to work with us, and the individual users to come and work with us
Is it safe to say that you're the only UTM provider in these days right now?
in the country right now. Yes.
Do you see any competitions coming up as far as providing UTM services to other drone providers? Or do you have?
Absolutely. We do see competitions coming up, and they will be here very soon. However, we have a first mover advantage, both in context. So, see, I mean, there's a lot of companies that claim to be a UTM company. However, they are just a fleet management company who is giving you a idea about where the drone is and tracking the drone. For UTM, it is very much necessary that the regulator is also using you. Today, the regulator is using us, and we have installed at around 15 odd ADCs
Oh, that's great.
that we are providing an access to. So that helps us and that enables us in a massive manner, which gives us a big push to be a first mover in this industry.
It was nice. And for the information of everyone else on the call, uh, getting the regulator and getting the state on board as onto a private platform for air traffic management is next to impossible to do. I have been in the industry for multiple years, and I've never heard of this happening so easily. As in, even the West, most of the UTM is actually being done and led by government. It's great to see a private company coming in and providing UTM services here, and actually allowing other drone operators to come on board and fly and make the skies safer. Uh, so coming on to the other part of it, which is drone logistics, a lot of people seem to be very interested in the drone logistics and the ifs and buts and hows of how it happens.
Sure.
Uh, Obviously, yes, there are multiple questions about the technical feasibility part of it. Uh, in terms of whether there are questions about whether there are questions about licenses to fly drones, compliances to be followed. I think we have covered the licenses and the compliances part of it pretty in a lot of depth. Uh, as far as weather is concerned, can you talk briefly about the weather? Then we'll go on to economics of drone logistics also.
Sure. See, these are new age drones, new age technology drones, right? They can fly in bad weather conditions. But can we or should we fly in bad weather conditions? The answer is no. So if we know the weather is gonna be bad, it's like putting your hand inside the python and saying that, okay, don't bite. Uh, I'm taking that risk. So I mean, we don't take that risk. If we know the weather is bad, and precisely predicting the weather, even IMD in the country fails on it. So we even don't know. So many a times it has happened that the weather condition is very good in Noida, the weather condition is very good in Gurgaon. We have flown the drone. Suddenly we realized that it was raining in between in Faridabad. So we don't have those things in control. So what the drone does is it continues towards the destination. It comes and it lands at the destination wherever it is supposed to go for. It can withstand it. These are all IP67. It can withstand heavy wind. It can withstand moderate rain, I would say, not heavy rain or not storms. But yeah, whenever there is an alert around that, we do cater by that, and we do not fly in bad weather conditions.
That's good to know. Now, can you talk a little bit more about the economics of or unit economics of each drone flight? How does compare to uh, 1 day delivery, 6 hour deliveries, overnight deliveries, air flight deliveries, and the distances that you take them at?
I think your son is more
Yeah,
inquisitive about this. Right. Hi.
okay.
Right. So, see, as I said, I mean, we are providing impact and we are providing cost effectiveness from day one compared to the conventional means. Means we are way cheaper than any amount of transportation that happens, or any medium of transportation that happens in the country. Now, I'll talk about on the levels of, let's say, today my 90% revenue comes from health tech. Just talking about health tech. we are playing between 60 to 70% of gross profit margin, which would, after the drone cost amortization, which would translate to something around 36 to 45% of profit margin for us. And this is after enabling a 20% 20% reduction on cost for the client that we are working with today for, you know. So there's this massive level of things which are happening. My cost of operating is very minimal today. It will further go down because there's a lot of activities that we are doing on battery technology. Where there's a lot of activity which we are doing on optimizing and scaling up. Today I'm operating on 1:1 ratio, one pilot for one drone, you know. Globally, when you see in the US today, a company has got a permission to do even 1:20. So for me to achieve 1:20 is one pilot for 20 drones, is something that I would be able to achieve in 4 years time frame. And we go slowly from there on, you know, because there's a regulatory aspect as well that kicks in, which tells you to have pilots at different levels and to operate with it. With more and more drones being handled at a particular hub, we will be able to achieve 1:2 by the end of this year, 1:5 in the next year, and slowly and gradually move towards 1:20. So my per kilometer costing or expense on the pilot on the team level will start dropping down further. The biggest impact on my cost to go down is also coming from the battery tech. In the entire of country today, the batteries are all getting imported. Nobody is manufacturing the battery in the country, right? We are working with certain manufacturers who are exclusively setting up a factory for us to provide the batteries for us in India, on lithium ion, which would take up the life cycle of battery from 150 cycles today to 1500 cycles in the future. Future means 6 months to 9 months down the line. That's where my battery cost or my expense on the battery will reduce by 60% almost. So that would all enhance, and even at scale, providing a larger savings to the customer, I will be more profitable on the unit economic side of it. We are burning on cost. We are burning on money in terms of expansion. We are moving from city to city. We are moving and investing a lot in creating that infrastructure, creating the whole workout flow that we have got, and that is taking up a lot of appetite for us to go and grow in that particular territory.
So, there are some questions around payloads and delivery and infra required. So, what I'll do is I'll reframe the whole thing into a larger perspective. So, when we had chatted earlier, you told that even from the deck that you're not a drone manufacturer, you're a drone logistics company where you use drones as maybe a truck that Tata has, and you're more of the logistics company which takes goods from point A to point B, if not using a Tata truck, by using various drones. So, if you could just talk about how that delivery from point A to point B happens, what kind of capabilities do you have, the kind of fleet you have right now?
So, see, we have a fleet of 24 odd drones today. As you said, we are a complete drone agnostic platform that help us in terms of being agile and to move between players and to make it more like a plug and play system to expand into multiple other countries in the future as well. So I don't need to go and take my own platform to Europe or to US, get it type certified, wait for 2 years period, etc., etc. I can go and sign up with any US based company which has got a type certified drone, take them onto the platform, take an operator license, and start operating it. My turnaround time for everything becomes much easier and much faster. Now I'll talk about what are the specific areas. I believe drones are going to be a commodity, off the shelf, readily available commodity per se. There are subsystems where you need to work in and these are subsystems which will actually create a larger impact on your own business for. So these subsystems include the powertrain, for example. Now powertrain has got battery, motor, and controller. We do not work on motor and controller. It's a tedious business. It's a very time taking business in terms of creating a model, testing it over a period of next 3 years, creating reliability, creating data, etc., etc. And we are not a manufacturer. We don't want to go into that space. We see that will evolve, and more good amount of motors and controllers will start coming into the market. What we are working with vendors on is my experience around. So I mean, before this I was consulting on the EV side of it. I am from the automobile sector, so I know batteries very well, I know powertrains very well. So where we contribute in is from the sense that, let's develop a battery system which is going to allow larger endurance for us, larger life cycle for us, and come at a better cost for us, which can entail and which can become one of the unique things into the drone that can actually go in. So that's one subsystem that we work in. The second subsystem is when we are flying hundreds of drones in the sky, you know, and majority of the drones today fly on radio frequency. So they use radio frequency devices to fly between places, may it be visual line of sight, may it be beyond visual line of sight. And the biggest challenge with radio frequency is it can be hacked. And it's very much and it has very much happened in multiple parts of the world today. It can be hacked. There are a lot of security issues. There's a lot of open doors, etc., etc. So we very well designed when we designed the whole architecture of the platform. We thought very much in place that we want to develop a system in such a manner that the communication protocol is ours, and we will not outsource this communication protocol. So the com system that we have got today is a triple redundant 4G system, uh, and that becomes the primary communication protocol for us. If it fails because of some mechanical or electronic failure, it will switch to the radio frequency model. And in hilly terrains, the primary communication protocol again remains to be on satcom. So we are working with Iridium, we are working with Inmarsat, we are working with Navic, we are working with multiple agencies and multiple companies around the world to create that module and test that module onto what will work in such territories at that particular level. So com system, we are very active. We'll keep on investing. We'll keep on working on the com system, make it very, very better in that context. Uh, I mean, I think somebody has a question around the 4G com at the altitude. It will not work beyond 200 meter altitude. We can, sorry, 200, 200-meter altitude. So we fly at 200-meter max, what we can do with 4G. And that is where beyond 200 meter, the SATCOM module comes into place, where we are working with SATCOM players. But in cities, we don't fly at that altitude. We fly below 120 meters. So in cities, a 4G module do works very finely. Uh, Now,
Um,
coming to the other sides of it, anything and everything that adds and contributes value from the perspective of carrying a payload is what we work on. So we are working on Skye Winch. It's a winching platform or winching device that we created, which is bringing down the package into the pod without the need of the drone landing at point B. So we have removed that landing at point B, which has enabled us to remove one pilot from the loop, and which has enabled us to save on the cost of one pilot by integrating and creating a system on winching. Likewise, what we are working on slaughter mechanism, we have enabled and we have created a 5 slaughter mechanism where one drone is carrying 5 packages. It can go to point A, point B, point C, point D, drop packages and come back. So it will do a milk run in that particular context. So anything and everything which is revolving around the logistics piece is where we are working and creating IPs around it, and that is what we are adding and contributing value towards, creating a larger mission towards not being or not developing the whole drone from scratch.
um, so, if you can, also talk about the kind of payloads, the minimum and the maximum payload that you have carried so far.
So we have carried anything between 500 grams to 25 kilos.
Okay.
We do have a drone on 50 kilos, which is currently under testing. We are also working with another manufacturer on 100 and 200 kilo drone that would be deployed in multiple other parts in the coming months.
And these are fixed wing drones or quadcopters or hexacopters or octacopters? What are they?
So fixed wing is limited to 10 kilos of payload max.
Okay.
That's what we have right now. So I mean, if we go beyond 10 kgs of payload, the wing size will also keep on increasing. So today my fixed wing VTOL with 10 kilo of payload is roughly around 4.5 meter wingspan, which is pretty big.
Very, very big,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah.
So,
So we tend to that. We limit the fixed wing part till 10 kilos, and above 10 kilos it is all multi rotors.
and what is the endurance and the range limit for these drones and quadcopters that you have?
So majority of the 5 kilo and 10 kilo eVTOLs with fixed wing. has got a range between 80 to 100 kilometers. Uh, and the multi rotors that you talk about, the 5 and 10 kilo multi rotors have a range of 30 kilometers. The remaining have a range of around 20 kilometer to 40 kilometer.
And the endurance time is like 30 minutes to 1 hour, or higher than that.
Roughly around 45 minutes, 40 to 45 minutes.
That I think that answers a lot of questions that people have been having about things here. For Abhishek's point, do drones have autopilot capabilities? I think they do have autopilot capabilities, but you're not allowed to do them on autopilot right now.
No, so see, all the drones that you fly is autonomous, okay? Because anything that you fly in BB loss is autonomous. You can't have a remote pilot controlling it. You have a remote pilot observing it. So we do have to keep a remote pilot to observe it. In case where the pilot needs to take a control on, uh, they will take a manual control on.
So it's safe to say that these are semi-autonomous, human-in-the-loop kind of flight systems wherein they do work on autopilot, but human has to be present there to take control if something goes wrong. Let's say
Yes.
freak happens, something else comes on board.
So it's level 4 autonomy where the human is kept in loop. Level 5 autonomy is when the human is not in loop.
Yeah,
So it's level 4 autonomy.
that's good. Uh, I think the crucial question that remains to be answered here is, can you talk about economics of things? This is all nice and good to have. Drone logistics. I'm getting my packages through drones. Hey, it's exciting. How are you translating it to business though?
So as I said, no matter how good I talk about technology, or how much I talk about time saving, or how much I talk about sustainability, let's be honest, it doesn't sell in this country, right? Sustainability for sure doesn't sell in this country. Uh, Cost savings too doesn't sell if you are not talking about anything specific. So if you talk about organ delivery, if you talk about anything which is very very time critical, people talk about time savings, etc. But in the general context of e-com, quick com, etc., they don't talk about all these things. What they talk about and what largely translate and impacts is the cost savings part of it. The cost savings has to be there. Today companies are seeing that cost savings, and that is why they are expanding, and that is why they are utilizing drones at a larger scale. It's evolving, it's changing, and companies are adopting at a much higher scale today. Probably towards the end I can show you a video on how we are enabling for Lenskart, and that can help you to understand much better on how we are doing the last mile logistics and what is happening in that area.
How many deliveries did you do last month? Let's say, for example, with using your drones.
May we did In the month of May we did around 1250 flights.
And average weight for all of them?
Average weight is around 6 kilos, and that would translate to something around 40,300 packages.
So these are multiple packages clubbed together that you're delivering from point A to point B.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And the what is the main reason that people are opting for these deliveries? As in, is this time or is it yeah,
Cost.
it's time and cost both. So I'm getting my lenses delivered to me in like 2 hours at half the cost or lower cost than you before.
So, see, I think what we are impacting today is making it so okay. Time sensitive, time impact. Let's forget about time impact because it takes the lenses to be made in like 1 to 2 days, and then it takes the logistics companies another 2 days to deliver it. What we are cutting short is we are delivering on the second day itself. Now that's an add-on that a customer is getting today, in our opinion, and on the cost savings part, we are building that scale to reduce on the cost, which will translate to something around 25% of cost savings in the future.
So, one, itching question that everyone has, when they talk about drone delivery. So the pictures of drone delivery that are there in the world is of a pizza being delivered to your house via drone with pizza being given to you in your hand. So is that feasibility that will happen in the next few years, or how do you see quick com deliveries being happening now? So explain to people as to how that happens from
It
point A.
would happen next month. If you live in Gurgaon, it will happen next month.
So you'll have a drone hovering around in the balcony giving it to you, or
Not in the balcony for sure. Because look, there are a lot of challenges with respect to going to balcony. It's not that technology cannot do it. Okay,
um,
it has been done. It has been done in Switzerland. There's a partner of ours who works very closely, and we have been looking at utilizing his technology to do package deliveries to balconies in Mumbai and multiple other parts. So it can be done, to be very honest. Is it feasible to do it? Um there are challenges around it. First, we have to solve those challenges. Number one is, I will have multiple
No, so
cameras and
we don't have a lot of
sensors.
time remaining here, so let's not go into a rabbit hole. What I'm asking then is about, so you'll be looking at doing a delivery at a particular point, let's say in a building complex, wherein your drones will come and
Yeah,
drop off points, and
true.
then you have something like an OTP system that you have in your in your boxes to secure those delivery locations from someone else picking up your packages.
Let me show you a video, that would give you a better insight. Me talking about all the time is good, but if you see something by your own eyes, that will help you to understand this better. Give me a second.
Just to
This
add to that, Ankit, there's a question from a member that do we need a infrastructure at the delivery location?
Absolutely 100%, and that is what we are establishing right now. So if you see these are okay. You go through this video. Let me explain you in a minute. So this is how it is going to be delivered, and I mean on an everyday basis. So there's a township of like 400 plus villas which are there, and the drone basically goes, drops the package, and then the delivery guy from there goes and delivers to all different households which are there. So I mean, yeah, you were asking Karan something.
No, just the question that around the infrastructure
Yeah.
required at the delivery end.
Right. So see, what we have done is we have divided the whole of Gurgaon into 10 clusters, and each cluster today has got one pod. Okay. This fundraise will help us to expand that number of pods from 1 to 100, and then further go to 500. So we'll go to from 1 to 100, we'll go to all the sectors and we'll deploy, and then we go from 100 to 500, more granular to keep it more into 50-meter to 100-meter of a radius. And then the delivery guy's function is to take out the package and go to a 100-meter radius and do the deliveries. We are working with multiple other companies into this. We're adding up tons of other companies to go and do this. Today we are doing, I think on a daily basis, we are doing something close to 1,000 deliveries, 1,000 packages in Gurgaon, which will get translated, which will get moving to by July, August. We should be doing somewhere around end of July, early August, we should be doing somewhere around 10,000 packages per day. And further moving by January, we should be at 70,000-80,000 packages per day. So just in Gurgaon. And that we translate to multiple other parts.
There are some questions about the cash burn and the EBITDA margin that you're looking at right now. You can talk about them also on a month-to-month basis.
So we are negative on the EBITDA side of it. There's a cash burn of around 40 lakhs that we're doing every month today. That's what is happening. Our revenues are increasing. So if you look at, we did start the commercial activities only since December of 2022, and I think April we did 20 lakhs, 21 lakhs as a revenue. May we closed at 40 lakhs. Uh, I think August we are hitting 1 crore as an MRR, and going to 3.5 crores by December. So it's scaling up much faster.
And you have the customers lined up for all of this, or
Absolutely, absolutely. I think it's all about infra. The more we create infra, the more faster we move. The more faster we'll be able to replicate as well.
there's also a question about the costing required to enable one pod or one corridor. What are the costs involved in doing all of that? So, give a
Right.
perspective as to what kind of
It's
cap
one-time cost.
flying.
Yeah, one-time cost, which is there for the pod and the infra enablement, which is around a lakh of rupees.
Okay, so basically, 1 lakh rupees is required to deploy one pod around an area,
Correct.
and the delivery people that you're deploying to for the pod to home delivery. Now, they are your own, or they are from third party logistics people?
So these are currently, I mean, we do not employ them for sure. These are currently third parties which have been deployed on, but we will be also outsourcing and transferring this to companies which are experts in this area, which can take up and which can actually add up things out there. So we are working on those things as well. Within a period, I think within a period of 4 to 6 months, we should be doing that.
And then when do you expect to be EBITDA positive?
By first quarter next year, financial.
So by that time, you'll be having about 500 pods in your under your wing, and about doing about
We
80,000.
should be having 2,000 pods all across the country. So we are. I mean, Gurgaon is just one piece. We will be expanding to other cities, and the first 5 cities that we'll be expanding to will be accordingly moving up.
Should be good. Can you give some specific numbers into what kind of margins you'll be looking at when you are EBITDA positive, the revenues that you'll be having?
We should be at 40 to 45% of a margin on top of whatever we are doing right now.
And the revenues you'll be expecting at that time?
We should be hitting something close to uh, something close to 70 odd crores
Per annum.
per annum. Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Um, so I'm guessing currently you are GM1 positive.
So we were CM1 positive in April as our burn was reduced. But yeah, I mean we are currently investing a lot in buying up the batteries and investing in the pods and other things. So yeah, it's back to negative.
Okay. Now, so the two parts of the business also, and you're utilizing the UTM system that you have created yourself in the Gurgaon area for doing deliveries and everything else. So, uh, when you talk about margins, as in, is it after the UTM, or are you taking UTM as a separate business altogether?
So I mean the total value that we are talking about is including the SaaS and PaaS both. So
Okay.
drone delivery as service and the software as service. Software will contribute to around 30% of the business.
So basically, you're looking at UTM services providing 30% of revenues, and the rest would be from delivery.
70% from the drone logistics piece of it. Yeah.
And do you have tie-ups with manufacturers of drones? So, if you're talking about doing 80,000 deliveries, how many drones you're talking about? What kind of deployment you're talking about in terms of buying drones and other things?
So we are not buying drones. We are putting up HNIs and other agencies and companies to work with us on finance lease model. We are looking at having around 800 drones in the next 12 months.
And you have, so the pilots are your own, or have you identified those? How do you get talent to fly so many drones? And that's a good business question to answer. Other than the financials and the regulations and the coolness around living.
That's the most difficult part of the business.
Okay.
Because look, currently the sort of mechanism for training which is established in this country is very, 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 very alarming. From the perspective that it's a 7 days training which is provided to these pilots, and further on they get a 10 years license. So what we do is we understand that this is not going to work out for us, and that's where we hire these pilots. We run them into our programs. We provide them a 45 days of training. After 45 days of training, we evaluate them whether they are fit to go into commercial activities or not. If we see they are not fit to go into commercial activities, they are back into the training again. We try with them for 60 days. If we don't like and we see there's no improvement, and the person is not going to work around for us, we let him go or let her go in that context.
Okay.
The remaining pilots basically go for the further training and psychometric evaluation and other things that we have got in place.
So, putting aside the compliance is part of it for some time now. Just talking about pure business perspective, what kind of risks do you see other than compliances coming on board for you?
I think our biggest risk
Or,
is
or, the, or rather, not the risks, the challenges. I'll say not risks. I'll say challenges for you to expand out further. So you have a brutal expansion plan in front of you. You're going from 24 drones to 8,000 drones. What kind of challenges do you see in expanding and doing that?
See, the biggest challenge or risk, as you put in, is people. Getting the pilots, training the pilots, hand holding them, running them through the course. This is a very nascent industry, right? There's no set precedent which has been there for this industry. The amount of maturity that a pilot carries today is nowhere close to us what a CPL licensed pilot carries in case of flying a civil aviation aircrafts, right? uh, that maturity level is missing, and that results in a lot of challenges on ground to handle them, the expectations, the set of things which are there today. A pilot, let's say, in Bangalore or Gurgaon, working together, working in the city like conditions. If I set them and if I tell them to go and work in Kulu, sounds good for 15 days, 20 days, 30 days, but then they start feeling isolated. They start feeling and getting more in the direction to start looking for some other jobs,
Okay.
uh, moving out of that particular place. So it's very difficult to look into the aspects of these people. So a lot of time, a lot of cost, a lot of efforts are going in the direction to set up a right mechanism of creating these assets, and then holding on to these assets for a longer period of time.
And what about the customers? As in, what kind of customers do you have lined up to get 80,000 flights done in a month?
So I mean, the key focus, right? So healthcare is something that we have already cracked, and it's evolving, and the scale up is happening. The key focus in the next 1 month is remaining around e-com, quick com, and food. And
Uh,
we do have customers that we are currently engaged with and working out to begin things with.
and the kind of what kind of revenues are you expecting per flight on an average from these operations?
You mean on a per flight level?
Yeah, if you talk
Uh,
about per flight level, uh, costs for that matter, that'll be great.
See, it's relative, because when you talk about food, we are talking about one flight is gonna be of like 500-meter radius. So going 500 meters and coming back 500 meters, what we are looking at taking up is around 50 rupees per flight. So it'll be shorter flights will be like very very cheap, right? Even in 50 rupees, we will have like 30%, 30 to 35% margins. Uh,
So
when
these
you
are
talk about,
people like Blinkit and all, or talking about Zomato kind of food deliveries.
I can't name the company, but yeah, I mean, there are only two companies on food, so
Okay.
you can guess it's
And
either
and
of them.
and for about the longer logistics, what are you talking about there when you talk about half an hour flights?
So when longer logistics talk about say Noida to Gurgaon, what we are talking about is around 500 bucks per flight is what we are getting.
And so you're envisioning yourself as a B2B business or a B2C business also. So can I send some packet from your location one to another, or only B2B?
Only B2B or B2B to C, no direct to consumer.
Okay, so you're the B2B part of it. Only let the other company be the B2C part of it then.
Absolutely, absolutely. We don't have any intent to go in that direction.
Um, I don't think I have more questions on my side.
There is
Karan?
just one question from the community on the insurance requirements. And
Right.
I would like to add to it, what are the, so in case of a mishap, what is the action that you guys would do or take? Or what is your preparedness for that?
So see, I think for every drone we need to have an insurance, right? We have not gone, unlike UK or US, we have not gone to a flight level insurance yet in India. So it's a yearly insurance that you have to take, which covers the drone, which covers the third party liability up to 20 lakhs, and which covers the payload up to 60,000 rupees. When you talk about last mile logistics, we do not provide any payload insurance to anybody. When you talk about intercity or when you talk about a mid mile logistics, we do provide insurance, and this cover of 60K comes into effect.
That's it from the community questions also. Ankit, do you have a license yourself? Are you a drone pilot yourself?
Not yet. I wish to. I'm not getting time to go and do this, but for sure in the future. I'm not a drone pilot yet.
Okay.
You might also want to ask about the financials being available to investors or not. I don't know. How does it work with Misfits?
I don't think the financial projections we're giving out. On the app, you can have the deck and the memo, etc. Whatever is available there.
Yeah. So last crucial question: how much you are raising? What valuation you're raising at? When do you expect to close the rounds?
So, see, I think this discussion that we're having with Misfits is around the bridge, which you are raising of 2 million, which will get converted at Series A. Series A is a larger round, which will be of 7 to 10 million. Um, the way the Series A is going right now, we are expecting that we should be closing Series A by August. So this bridge will be then converted to Series A by August. We are providing a discounts, which we have, I think we have shared internally to Misfits about there are two ways. So this round is again being also led by one of the largest e-commerce company, Flipkart Ventures. So Flipkart is putting in the money in this round, followed on by the remaining or the existing investors that we got in the seed round, including Cherate, who is putting in the money. So
Agent.
so Cherate, Agility, O2, Lead, and multiple other investors who are there on the cap right now. They all are putting in the money. They all are doubling up. And we have Flipkart Ventures who's coming in. So we have commitments to 1.4 million, 1.45 million rather. We are looking for additional 500 to 550K to come in from the current discussions that we're having with different other investors, including Misfits.
And what kind of valuations you'll be looking at the bridge round?
So Bridge again has got two aspects, as I said.
No, sorry, not the bridge round. Say the Series A round.
Series A, we are expecting anything between 25 to 30 is where things would be. But again, to be decided by the lead investor. Uh, we will be working with the lead investor to finalize on the valuation at that particular level. Uh, are there are two terms at the bridge that I think Misfit is there. Uh, they can share these things with.
So, Tamal, the minimum ticket size for this would be 1 lakh rupees, starting from 1 lakh. And the discount, etc., is the same as Flipkart.
And do you want to talk about the valuations in Series A? How you're arriving at those valuations? People might be interested in knowing, I know, understanding those also.
See, I'm not arriving at any valuation, to be honest. I'll
You
leave
know,
it on
particular
the
valuation, as in it's not, So as an aerospace engineer, I like to talk in log scale. Uh, so, you're not talking about 2 million, you're talking about 200 million, you're talking about, if not 20 million, 20 to 30 million as well. Your range is somewhere between 10 to 50 million range, let's say. So
I'll
how,
I'll give you three optics for this. Okay. So see, number one is our last round happened in March of 2022, right? Where our post money valuation was 6.75 million,
okay.
right? We were not doing software. We were doing 80 flights a month. We were not doing any commercial activity. There was no recurring revenue. It was just a vision. It was just to translate what we were envisaging and where we were putting up efforts in that direction, right? That was the stage. Today, we are doing commercial deliveries. We have got 9 to 10 signed contracts for a long term duration. We have a visibility to hit 1 CR as an MRR. We are doing 40 lakhs in the month of May. We have already done 1250 flights, a long way compared to last year where we were. And that is where this jump of 3.5x is being looked at. Second thing, when you look at my global competitors, may it be Zipline, may it be Matanet, may it be Flightrex or anybody else, all these companies are again playing something between 150 to 170x of their revenue as the valuation. And this is very common across the drone logistics ecosystem around the world. So even if I look into those X of valuation of the revenue, I think we are pretty much set into the similar space where which we are the similar numbers that we are talking about. The third thing is India as a country and the whole of market of drone logistics is evolving. There's a lot of things which are happening in this market. Parallelly, there's another market which is evolving and which is at a stage where India was a year back when all these things got opened up, and that is UAE. UAE invited applications from global players to come and benchmark and start settling up and start conducting drone delivery trials as India did 100 hours drone delivery trial long, right? Around 400 applicants came in to apply for UAE drone delivery activity, which is done by Dubai Future Foundation, heading or directly reporting to the Crown Prince. So now they selected 7 companies out of it, 7 global players out of it. We are one of them and the only Indian company to be selected there. Our UAE trials are going to begin from mid of July. Once the UAE trials are over by end of July or early August, we should be getting a commercial license to start operating in the Emirates. And once that happens, we are talking about a larger volume at a better cost coming in place at that particular level. So we are talking about here when we talk about per delivery cost of say 500 rupees a flight, there we are talking about per delivery cost of 5,000 rupees a flight. So and we are the only Indian company selected. This was I think this took us around a year's time almost to go round and round through series of conversations and series of deployment exercises, and then further getting this approval in place. So we are very well set. We have a right thesis in place. We have a right mix of team in place. We are a 70 odd member team. We are growing, and everything is adding and everything is being contributed from that particular perspective. So yeah, I think keeping all these things in mind, it's a fair assumption to be at 25-30 million.
Got it.
There's just one question from Soumya. It's here in the chat as well, and we had earlier received the question as well. That can you comment on the impact you foresee on the local bird life because of the drones? I think she works in the ESG space and would want to know this.
Right. I mean, that's one of the questions that we always had with respect to drones and how it will impact. So see, I think just to give you a synopsis on this, there are multiple levels of things which are happening today, right? When you talk about eVTOLs, which are fixed wing, they tend to create lesser sound compared to the multi-rotors. And that is where we have a mixed fleet right now. And the idea is to move more and more on eVTOLs compared to the multi-rotors, so as to create lesser sound and vibration. And that could again transform on not having larger impact. I'm not saying that there won't be any impact on birds. There will be impact on anything which is flying, but the impact will be reduced to an extent of around 70-80% compared to the multi-rotors. That is where we are shifting a lot of things from multi-rotors to this. Second thing is we do see impacts with reference to the bird hitting the drones as well. And that is where we look into creating multiple systems which will be ultrasonic in nature, and which will trigger the bird to move in a different direction and not to collide with the drone and get impacted at all this durations whenever we are flying and whenever we are doing things. So these are two things that we are working on, providing and at least creating to safeguard on those levels.
And thank you, Ankit. It was a very informative session. Thank you, Prasoon, for asking very relevant questions. And we'll share the recording with the entire community and with both of you as well.
Sure, sounds good. Thank you, Karan.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Karan.
Prasun.
Thanks, Ankit.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.